There we go. Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. Well, welcome everyone. Every 2 weeks we have a meeting of the Home Business Success Group, and many of them are chosen by the members. This one I don't think was chosen by the members, except I'm a member, so I chose this one. And David Riddell of Big Frog Custom T-Shirts is a practitioner of relationship marketing and has done so very successfully over time. And he's taught me some things about relationship marketing, one of which I'll probably share in a little while. I would ask everybody as we get it started, except for David, if you would put yourself on mute, and then later on we'll all get back and we'll have some questions and we'll share that. So without further ado, let's all mute ourselves. I'll even mute myself, and then
too soon. You can't mute yourself that quickly. Unmute it.
Okay.
Well, you said you would unmute yourself, and then you kept talking, and you were on mute. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to unmute myself. I'm going to mute myself again. Here we go.
Okay, so I'm just supposed to roll?
That's right, and I will be quiet.
Oh, good. I won't. Well, good afternoon, or maybe good morning for those in another time zone, or actually listening to it over their morning coffee tomorrow, since it's FaceTime Live. As Hank said, my name is David Riddell. I own Big Frog. My wife and I own Big Frog Custom T-Shirts. I own one in Asheville and one in Durham. The reason we call this, some close confidants of mine and I call it relationship marketing, is networking is trying to find as many people as you possibly can to be on your list. Selling is handing out business cards at all costs and trying to make a sale. Relationship marketing is a long game. It's about the community. It's about being more than the name on the door, giving back, and be known for something. So everybody has competition. Many of us have multiple. I mean, you think about 4,000 realtors in the area, or a financial place, or a bank, or insurance. There's tons, and all of us have them, direct or indirect, and we have to separate ourselves. So 5 years ago, when we were opening our store, I could have taken the approach and said, ooh, yeah, custom shirts, Big Frog, I win. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, because they can get shirts and what I do anywhere, even ordering off the internet in the middle of the night. So it's how you separate yourself. Your business has a value proposition, and the biggest value proposition is yourself. Everyone in this group, for the most part, has a home business. So you don't have a brick and mortar space. You have something to offer, but we are not Hampton Inn, McDonald's, Walmart. They were small ones too. They were a one-off brick and mortar space. All of us have to find how to be more than the name on the door. So here's my resume just on this side of the globe, not counting Durham. I am a member of 3 chambers, also Fletcher Area Business Association. I'm on the board in Fletcher. I'm an ambassador in the other chamber, very active in all of those. I'm on the board of 3 nonprofits. I am a mentor for SCORE. I am an ambassador for the community college. There is a year-long seminar course that's given in Henderson County through the community college and the chamber, and I've taken that both in Henderson County and in Transylvania. So a graduate there. There's another learning thing called Mission Acceleration, and then United Way has a nonprofit seminar called Rising Leaders. I'm also in my 2nd year of being a mentor through the Asheville Chamber to college students, which is called Next AVL. Do tons of networking, tons of expos, ribbon cuttings. I have I'm on 35 community pages for Facebook, all of those buy, sell, swap shops of everywhere. And then just in the past year, I've probably done 15 to 20 podcasts and seminars and speaking. And I'll talk about why in a minute. But the summary of that is that I didn't open the door and say they will come. I've gone out into the community to give of me first. And because I'm being me, then it will come with sales. Now, yes, that's the long game. And you've got to hope that you've got enough money to sustain it, right? Running around and selling will get you immediate clients. But if you lose those immediate clients, what do you have? So it's slowly building a fan base and a referral source because you've gone and given of yourself. Again, not selling primarily. So it's up to everybody to be a part of a community. This members group that you guys are in is a community, right? You may meet live once this is over, but it's a Zoom unity, basically. The chamber is a community. Defined, a community is a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common, like a city, a county, or a region. In business or in the other world, it could be business, it could be a nonprofit. It's you represent a specific sector, right? And everybody finds their way to community, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. At Big Frog, we have an expression, and it's an acronym for FROG called Friends, Recreation, Occupation, Geography. That's the FROG. And when you're relating to clients, when you're relating to people, you're trying to find the common link. The first thing out of your mouth and when you meet somebody isn't supposed to be what you do. At a networking thing, it's not supposed to be, hey, it's a nice day. Well, it would be better if you had my services. That's not relationships. That's going door to door. If you want to do that, then have at it. So being a part of something isn't about where you live or the business you do. It's about the groups you're in and how you can assist, right? It's a feeling of fellowship and a result of sharing all these different attitudes and interesting goals, because you should join a nonprofit because you have something to offer. You are in specific groups. There's PTOs at the school, there's nonprofits, there's civic organizations, business organizations, and you went for a certain reason. And if you went only to sell, that's the wrong reason, right? You went for other reasons, and that's to learn from, connect with, be bigger than the name on the door. So it's finding your unique community and how do you get there, right? And in order to teach you that, I'll kind of go through the things that I went through before. It's kind of a case study. If you are sitting behind the name, just hoping they come to you, they won't. Again, we are not household names. Nobody is. We may have a household product from social media and tests, calling out my people, to Hank, the PR guy with his awesome hat. To Anna Marie doing a mailing coupon book. Those are common things, but we are in a bigger world. So just trying to shove your products and your services down throats doesn't work, right? There's a human side to every business, even the big conglomerates. So when you think about, if I start at the beginning, so I own 2 stores. I'm not a designer. I'm not a printer. I am now, but I didn't find it because of that. I found it because as we wanted to open our own business, it was, what is customer service? What is community? Where can you get so far entrenched and have a lot of fun? So I found it for different reasons. I was a retail guy for 25 or 30 years. So I naturally cling to that and found something where all of those skills work, right? My wife's payroll bookkeeping skills fit into that too. So the store we picked, the business we picked is service, community, branding. Business organizations, I was in a PTO before I did this, and I was in a PTO with somebody that some of this group knows from FABA. And we were just there because we wanted to help our daughters. There was no selling. I didn't have branded merchandise and worked for a corporation, so it didn't really matter. And when I decided to buy into or buy Big Frog. So PTO, what is a PTO? Parent Teacher Organization. Sorry, it's where parents help out the teachers and the teachers and try to grow the store, right, or the school as volunteers. So I went because I wanted to be a part of my daughter's school. There was no business, but I met people, one being an insurance person, one being a realtor, one being a financial person, that became referral sources later because they got to know me on a personal level, right? I didn't have a store. I was a corporate guy, but they went into know, like, and trust. And when we decided to open a store, it was, hey, insurance guy, where are you going to spread the word? And he says, I'm going to Fletcher Area Business Association. So here I go. And from Fletcher, then, hey, there's this great organization called Incredible Towns, which is nicely posted up there on the screen for all of you guys. And then there's a chamber. So I didn't throw darts at everywhere. It was finding people that I knew that were getting success out of different places. But yes, I started to go everywhere. And there's a cost factor to everything and a time factor. I get it. You can only go to everything if you have time, but you're picking and you're choosing. And from Fletcher Area Business Association, I liked it so much, I joined the board. Joining the board of Fletcher Area Business is not getting me any additional sales or any additional exposure because nobody knows what, I mean, the board's just doing stuff, but it's because I could help, right? So then how have I used community for growth is the next part. So you have why you picked your business, why you go to the organizations you're going to go to. Well, then there's community things that just helped me, or at least I thought they'd help me. There's a lady that goes to Steve Jenks's group that is a life coach that she's taking Leadership Asheville this year. And Leadership Asheville is an all year long program. It costs money, but it teaches you to be a leader. It teaches you different things in Asheville, like I mentioned the vision class in Henderson County. You can't be a servant leader until you understand everything around you. So you go, and you're going, in that case, she is, and I did, because I needed to learn. I didn't go in and sign up and spend lots of money to run around and pass out business cards like they're invoices. I went in so that I could meet great people, learn great things, make some great connections. And shockingly enough, after spending once a month for 11 months, they're some of my best referral sources, friends, colleagues. But I went for the right reason. Same thing with somebody, I'm taking the vision class and they say, you should take the United Way's Rising Leader program, which is 8 weeks of teaching you about nonprofits. Yes, I sell lots of shirts to nonprofits as a custom apparel guy, but nonprofits are a heartbeat of a community. Schools are actually considered nonprofits. So I get to learn about nonprofits. Their end game is to try and recruit you for United Way's, one of the United Way's nonprofits. Well, it worked. So then I found one that I liked, that I could make a difference, that was at our core, which was kids. And I'm actually on 2 nonprofits that are kid related. Call it, the family in me, the human in me. And again, found it by taking something to learn, found it by, in direct association. So there are things you're going to go to that are for you, but it's going to put you in a position meeting people that you wouldn't normally meet. Sometimes out of your comfort zone, sometimes just perfect, that it's a tie. So then are you involved in your industry? For me, being a store with 80 something others, there's an advisory committee. So somebody asked me to impart a wisdom that I apparently had, just like speaking here. Somebody said, you've got something to offer. Could you do that? I'm learning. which helps me be stronger. And I'm giving back, which makes others. I have good relationships with my vendors, my competitors. By being on podcasts like Hank's, and Hank's been on a couple others. He's been on Biz Radio, and he's been on a couple from the same station, right? They asked him to be on. He was on. He's learning something, but passing things on. That's getting involved in your industry. And then being able to give back when you are nonprofits and chamber and being able to speak. Again, that's you're doing that. You are building relationships by being a part of something, right? So you've got a couple options. You've got, in today's world where only 3% of the people see your Facebook, and there's tons of competition, and lots of Google stuff. You could sit back and hope for business to come, or you can go and find it. And there's three types of people at events: the ones that come just to see their people, the one that runs around like a business card is an invoice, and then there's the rest of us, and Steve's a good person for that. You know a lot of people. You're talking to somebody comes over that you don't know, but your people do. You get introduced, you have a 10-minute conversation with them, and in an hour and a half meeting, an hour and a half type after hours or get together, you've had 3 good conversations and a whole bunch of hugs and handshakes and waves for people that you know. It's not to say there's 80 people here, how do I sum them all up and get a card? Nor is it to sit in the corner and not care about where it is, who's giving it, who it's for, right? It's like Steve's going to, for Incredible Town, since he's on here, is the perfect example. It's like you could go because Steve's giving you a free beer and everybody's going to see right through it. And you can run around and say, hi, my name is, and I sell this. And there's somebody that I know very well that I'll say, in this beautiful weather, he'll go, it'd be more beautiful if you'd buy my services. And it never fails. He will say it 9 out of probably 99% out of 100 times. And very likable guy. Not very trustable, because that's all that comes out of his mouth. So now be the person that says, have you met? Or wait, I know a person, or this is your first time here. Nice to meet you. And you didn't go because Steve's handing out beers. You went because you wanted to be a part of that community. You wanted, and it's at a, like Steve's is at a different place, like every chamber after hours is at a different place. And it's not about, hey, chamber, yeah. The chamber is the vehicle of which to allow you that opportunity, but it's at somebody's building. So thank them. Don't go to a ribbon cutting to be seen. Go to welcome them to the community. So you're allowed to go everywhere. And yes, I shamelessly park my wrapped vehicle, which I don't sell wrapped vehicles, so I'm not selling that, but I will shamelessly park my wrapped vehicle on the street, so you have to hit me on the way in. Now, I shamelessly sell custom apparel, so yes, I'm wearing my logo. So just by being there, you can't miss Dave. But I go because I want to learn, connect, relate, grow. I mean, all of those things. Business isn't coming to you just by sitting there. So again, relationship marketing is a long game. Relationships ensure the community becomes a part of you rather than you just going and being a part, being in it. I keep saying business card is not an invoice because, it's shocking how many people you see, or they'll show up to meetings, even Zoom meetings, right as it starts, and then having to run. The famous person that I have to be late, or can I go first because I have to leave? No, you can't. Get there early, stay late, meet some people, be interested. We're all in Zoom space right now, and I know you've all done it for 52 weeks right now. We've all been on Zoom or shut down, and when somebody's got the black box with their photo on it, they don't care. I get that somebody walks into the room and you have to put it on off video for a minute. But if you can't stay engaged, then are you really there? or were you just going for, tell me when my time is, because that's the most important, the most important thing. And there's a famous guy that maybe everybody on this call knows, but the grandfather of free relationship marketing would always said, and it's always crazy that I still quote him, but be interested, not interesting. And I see, and Steve will smile and go, never heard that speech before. So every week, yeah, or something. It's like we can recite the speech, but that's true. You must be a servant leader in your community. But in order to do that, you have to understand that community is a two-way street, right? Knowledge of your community. You have to be respected. You have to be trusted. In BNI, which stands for Business Networking International, which I won't get into because I like solid organic relationships and not complete paid. Which I mean, the chamber, you're being a member of an organization. BNI, you're being a member of something that is ants marching. But you can look up BNI if you want to. But they have something called Giver's Gain, and that I do agree with. The more you give, the more you get back. Start with the heart, and the business will come, right? I mentioned earlier, so you opened a business, so you're in business. Whoopity-doo. Nobody cares. Okay, they care about what you sell and what your service is, but they can get it anywhere. So how are you making them want yours? Because I'm a realtor. There are 3,999 other ones, but I'm a realtor. I buy and sell houses. So if you know of anybody buying and selling houses, then let me know. Thanks. Textbook check, right? A house can sell itself if it's priced right. You're going to a realtor because you trust them to add extra care. It wasn't because they're the best salesperson there was. Same with an investment person. You go to an investment person, not because they have all the answers, because most of them are a part of a network that has this genius algorithm that does everything. You're going to them because you love their bedside manner, that they can explain it to you. There's a there's a trust, there's just a feeling at the core. And too many of us in small business actually forget that. We keep thinking, I have product, I'm here. Everybody listen, and Steve will tell you, and even Hank, and Anna Marie, and everybody else, we have sat there and watched somebody come once or twice or thrice, and then they're gone, and we see them 6 months later, and it's like, why'd you stop? Didn't work for me. And it didn't work for you because you thought it was a sales pitch thing. It is not. It is networking, which it involves an absolute give and take. Your skill and your passion have to be applied to others. The ultimate goal is to be known, liked, and trusted, and that takes a lot of work. It takes time. It takes consistency, and it takes values. I mean, even if your values are not agreed upon, and we've had many debates on here, right? It's like we just finished political season, and I mean, we can all fight about it all we want to, but I mean, stick to your convictions and be known for who you are. And somebody's not going to like that. I'm sorry. But I mean, the more consistent in stronger character you can be, and there's a way to express your, especially when we got into those political things, an easier way to say, I don't agree with you, right? You could not agree, but again, the rise up. But knowing, people can know you just because you're there. Sometimes you're known for the wrong reason. Liking you is step two, but trusting you, that takes time. I mean, you'll see people try to give you the pitch, and again, but I don't need a new bank or a new insurance guy, or I'm not selling my house anytime. You switch to a lot of those, even, I mean, in most things we do. I mean, I don't need you until I need you. And when I need you, who am I thinking about, right? A top of mind and a super trust. So when you join those communities, those business communities, those civic communities, those personal communities, in all of that, okay, Kat, you gotta go. Kat's on Zoom. You joined all of these communities because there are benefits. And there are really 8 benefits of community relations. There's not a carbon copy plan. You have to decide which communities to be in. You have to know if anybody's ever done a SWOT analysis, SWOT, it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Jeff has tests if you need any. Percent can sell you plenty of tests on SWOT, but it's concentrating on what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses, which are you, and what are my opportunities and threats, which are outside. Just like doing a business plan and a marketing plan and a cash flow, you really can't be bigger than you are without knowing those SWOT type things. So there's no tried and true way other than when you go, when you do, when you be, you're involved, you become an influence, and it benefits both of you. So of the 8 things that I came up with, one of them is your story is known. You have a clear, because you've kept going. And even though you haven't tried to sell, you're given opportunities in this group and in Steve's and in chamber things to give your speech, which is just that. But once you're known, what's your story? Several on here could give the Big Frog custom t-shirt speech, right? This is what Dave does. Steve goes sideways. I can give it backwards in 3 languages. And that's all great, but can you give the deeper story? If Dave died, did you say, oh, the poor soul that ran the t-shirt place? Or can you say, you know what? Dave was this person and Dave gave of him. Can you give that story? The business story and the personal story, and can somebody give it of you? So the story is known. All of these are two-way streets. So your story is known as one. Consistent character. You're not referring unless you trust somebody else. Same thing works for you. So the more you've been a part of something, and your character, your story's known, but it's a character. Do people know you, again, more than that business? And the trust, that was 2. 3, you know people and they know people. Having connections that increase your own success is good. Having connections that can help other people's successes is going to get you further. Two-way street. So feedback and reviews is 4. And there's several ways to get feedback and reviews, social and Google and all the online happiness of today. But just having somebody say, yes, this person, or have you met this person? And with reviews, you're asked questions all the time because you've been in the community, because you've been in a group. And when your feedback is asked for, you should not take it lightly. Somebody entrusted you to give an answer on a subject. So make it count. Be active, be present, don't be passive, be constructive. And, it's a huge part of growth for everybody. Perception, unfortunately, becomes reality, at least some of it. If somebody said there was this, this, and this, you could sit there and argue it all you want to. But if somebody saw it, that means at least 10 or 20% of that is correct. And dig deep in and take feedback for real and give feedback for real. Learn and grow is the next one. Don't stop learning. It will help you, it'll help your community, it'll help your business, and keep passing that on. Several of those things I mentioned, again, I went to because I wanted to learn. Those things that are mostly Henderson County, but vision class, mission and acceleration, rising leaders, different seminars, SCORE does seminars that are free. Some chamber things you can go to for free. Fletcher Area Business has free. The Small Business Center for AB Tech and Blue Ridge Community College, free. So if you go to them, again, to learn, guess what? You will meet people, you will connect, but you're going to come out of it stronger, which in the end game is going to help everybody. So be willing to learn, be a mentor, be a mentee, and don't forget you have to do that. This type of thing, Hank he's seen me doing what I do and said, okay, you can pass this along. Many of you do all of these, but for me to say it, then sometimes you put it in a different perspective. You already knew it, but you get and all of those self-help books and all of those rah-rah things, it's all common sense. It's just delivered to you in a way that makes you self-reflect and evaluate who you are. So if somebody asks you to be on a podcast, on a radio interview, give a quote, you do a seminar, you do it. It's an honor. And yes, it's helping you grow. It's helping you find different ways to do things. And oh, by the way, yes, it's helping business, right? Because you got a little bit of a spotlight. The next one is, again, and in all of these, you look, they're fluid. They all kind of tie in together. Be an expert. There's an expression called SME, which is SME, subject matter expert. And there's no substitute for time when being an expert. Don't think you know it all. Doesn't matter how many years in business you are. Something comes along like a pandemic and says, watch me take away your whole business plan, right? Somebody leaves that made one of your people that made you stable in business. And you go, wait, I have to remember how to do that. And industry changes, technology changes. So being an expert takes time. It takes dedication, discipline, and focus, a sincere, genuine desire to put in the work. And if you don't want to be the expert at something, then you're just running around trying to sell, then it's not going to get you anywhere. Half of being an expert is passion, because if you don't care, and I mean, you don't care about the client, you don't care about really your product, you just care about the sales, where's the expert and the learning in that? So always have confidence in your abilities. You bring something to every group. Lots of groups are seated, right? The BNIs are, the chambers are, where there's one person. Well, you know more than anybody else in what you're seated for, of course, but even in groups like this one or Steve's, where there may be some crossover, you're you, and you know more than anybody about you. And so you're supposed to use that to your advantage. And if there weren't other experts, how does that help you? So try to be an expert in your own skin first, and then your own business, and then your own community. So customer experience is next. And I say experience, not customer service. Customer service is about the transactional grocery store. You don't know them, they don't know you. A customer is, hey, how you doing? Exchange. A client is relationship. And customer experience starts from the very second. So there are people that you've been in this group for a while. People have been going to Steve's for 5 years, and they may never become a client. Never. They may never refer you, but at some point they could do both. And it's because of something you did before. So your customer experience starts with that website, that email, that human interaction, that social media post. And then they come to you as a business and how you handle it. And sometimes you mess up. Things are going to happen. How you handle it sometimes is recognized better than you aced it the first time, right? How you pivoted to correct the issue. But then the end, I mean, is there a thank you note? Is there an acknowledgement? Is there, ongoing service? So customer experience isn't just the service of the transaction, it's the entire thing. And for you to have amazing customer experience and for somebody else to have it, right? Isn't it amazing that anybody who's had teenagers in this part of a lifetime go, I wish I could get my teenagers to pull up their pants, get out from behind their phone and say my pleasure? Chick-fil-A can do all three of those. Most of us can't get the teenagers to do two of those. Some of us have exceptional kids on Facebook. We all have perfect kids. Nobody's ever had a kid that's done anything wrong. But isn't it great that what you want, that total experience, even with your insurance person, even with with anybody, customer experience matters, right? So all of these things are, because of the communities you go to, are what's helping you in the long run. The last one is philanthropy, right? A generosity in all its forms is often defined as giving gifts of time, talent, and treasure. Some people can't give of their product, but you can surely give of your time. And even if it's a business organization that you are going where selling is allowed, you are giving your speech. And I mentioned it, it's still giving of your time. Did you connect? Did you interact? Did you care where you were? Yes, I can give product. Yes, we've all sponsored something. When you can, you should. In Fletcher area business, it started with, if you've got $1, put it in the cup and it's going to snacks for kids. And then it became, you know what? I love this, so I'll go on the board. So I gave a little, I gave more. I sponsored something for one nonprofit. I became on the board. I went to the chamber and I liked that what they were doing with their after hours. So I became an ambassador so I could impart my wisdom somewhere else and be a part of something. So in all of these, there's philanthropic, whether it's just your time or a product or money. So start with the heart and the business will come is ultimately the theme in everything. You can't wait for the business to come, but you shouldn't go out and get it in hardcore sales. You should be a part of something bigger than the name on the door and be community. So every single thing I mentioned is about giving back, helping your community grow while helping personal growth, and then the sales will come. So remember the long game. Not everything turns into money, but everything will turn into better you, better community. And if it turns into money for somebody else, then great. All of these make for great connections and different experiences and different learnings. So I started with the places I've been. And again, the intention was, I have a business, I have to go places. But with each go, there was a reason for going. And then there was a bigger picture of just trying to make everything work. So yes, then everything I said turns into promoting it. Right now, you know your business's value proposition, your communities, your place in your community, and then you can apply it. And there are 14 different ways of which you can apply it, all of which are advertising and marketing. Some of those 14 are fundraisers and community involvement similar to this. It's when all of these things you've done for the right reasons, and some go together. You go to an Incredible Towns event and you are selling, but you are also being a part of something. So hopefully in 30-ish minutes, that was able to shed a different perspective and different light on why you go where you go, and that everybody, that you want them to need you because your product is ready and service is readily available anywhere. So give people a reason, especially in awesome Western North Carolina, where it's a great community that allows for that. Whereas big cities are always more Google and fast paced. We have a community where getting involved is actually warranted and rewarded. So that's what I have.
Okay, I'd like to bring this to a more personal level and give you an example of what happened early on. And Dave, I know you're going to remember this. I had seen you a few times at some of Choya's meetings. I'd probably seen you a few times before Choya was even doing those meetings, when it was like Wayne's meeting. But that was nice. I knew who you were. You knew who I was. But then I ended up at the Madison Expo. There was a business expo in Madison County, which almost sounds kind of counterintuitive. And yet there was a business expo in Madison County. I had not been to a business expo before on that, at least as a participant. And I bought this big banner, to put up behind my booth. And there's piping and there's ways you put those banners up. And here I'm kind of scrambling around. The things are going to start in 15 minutes. People are starting to mill about and my banner's not up. And I'm looking up there. I'm climbing on chairs. And David noticed what was going on. And even though he was setting up his own booth at the time, he came over, hopped up on a chair, and made sure my banner got up. And to this day, I've always remembered that, because that is relationship marketing. He demonstrated to me that he's a person of who cares about what other people are doing and what their businesses are. And David wasn't looking for anything from me from that. But as part of the long game, now that I met him that way, and actually didn't meet him that way, but he ingratiated himself to me through service. So as a result of that, as David said, there are people who do custom T-shirt printing. There's places all over the place to do it. But when I hear somebody who needs some apparel, who's the first person that comes into my mind? Well, it's David. David, Big Frog. You want one shirt? You want 1,000 shirts? Go see David. He'll treat you like a king. And I don't say that because I've heard him say that, because I know that he treats people like kings. And that is relationship marketing. Who has any questions for David? Jeffrey, you want to unmute yourself?
Sure. David, when you're meeting someone new,
Yes.
you have specific questions, non-business questions to help develop that rapport?
It is funny how many people go straight to, what do you do?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I always like to say, in most of these structured, because if it's a completely personal thing, you're in a line at a grocery store, you're at a friend's party, it's going to go a different route. But I've always liked saying, how do you find this group? Because just by asking that, they're going to feel comfortable. Because what you do, oftentimes they don't know their speech, they don't feel comfortable, they're a little shy, but it's like, how you get here? Who sent you? Well, hopefully that is a second question, because they're going to say, I saw it this way, or somebody that you knew told me. And so I've always liked that question, right? Because it doesn't seem so dumb of a question, like, a compliment's nice, but straight up asking what their business is caring about them, but not on a personal level, right? And so how do you find us, or what brings you here today? They can say business, or they can go anyway, the open-ended question.
Good.
So asking an open-ended question is always the best way to do it. Yes. Let's see. I think Eddie and Blaine. Let's go to Blaine, then we'll go to Margaret and what's his name?
I love that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm Nancy. I was here first.
Okay. Nancy has a question too.
Okay.
Nancy has a question. She raised her virtual hand first.
Okay, she's hanging off the other end of my viewership because the way I've got my screen arranged. So Nancy, let's go to Nancy first. I'm sure Blaine's not going to mind that.
I was just wondering, you're talking about how long it takes, and I understand that, but in the meantime, what do you do? How do you survive before you start, you're doing all this relationship stuff, and what do you live on in the meantime?
Well, right, and that becomes a serious question. When I opened our store, I said, do I have enough dollars in till, right? And if you give yourself, a comfortable lead in money, but you also give yourself an aggressive time frame, because you don't want to run out of money. And unfortunately, some businesses take longer than others. I have a physical structure. I have equipment. Then I have payroll. So that takes more than many in this group, where they still have bills to pay, but business bills are getting paid, right? It's like there's some cost of goods, maybe there's some equipment, but like with Anna Marie, there's a printing cost, and there's lots of gas and things to go and talk to people, but if you don't have a physical structure, then it's a little bit different. So yes, that becomes the question when you open or start, what the business plan is, right? I will tell you that because we opened in May, And in January, I joined the 4 chambers because the 4 chambers were less expensive than a BNI that I mentioned. And a BNI will have 25 or 30 people in it, whereas chambers will have thousands. And so I spent $1,000 for the first year to join all 4 of those. And I went and I went and I went. But for 3 or 4 months, I didn't have a store, so I could go. Then the store opens. So January, we opened in May. By the end of August, we threw a small ribbon cutting that had 350 people show up. Our little store had 350. So what I did was escalate what I was doing, right? If I would have sat back and done nothing and waited to open, or once open, waited for some small things to come. So it is an aggressive approach that I did, but it's also the way, really to me, it's the way you do it. Because sitting there, no good, kind of that chamber example I gave you. Sitting there in the corner, not good. Running around, knocking on doors, trying to sell, not good. So it's being aggressive and active, but being conscious and personable too. But yes, it's a tough question because I've seen that. I've seen too many people, and especially when COVID hit, the normal, how do we last? So it is tough. It's like, how do I get there before I run out of money?
Right.
But you can go fast and furious. How you do it will be the reward quicker.
Okay.
Well, David, also, I remember I was at that ribbon cutting with all those people, and there were door prizes and there was food. And that was a big one, because when people get food, they're going to remember that. The way
and you can, right.
Yeah, if you could get food at your opening, that's something everybody's always going to remember.
But even business owners that are out of the house, you don't want to have a whole bunch of people to your house for a ribbon cutting.
Yes.
And there's two sides to this. I've been to chamber ribbon cuttings where chamber is a big organization and nobody shows, because the chamber hitting a button was only going to so many people. It's up to the business owner. And even though most of you have a business out of the house, you know somebody who has a facility. Yeah. Do you know the person that can let you have something at the brewery? Do you know somebody who can get you a community center? Have an event there. And it sounds like they have 350 people. My expense was that I joined 4 chambers. But I went to Steve's things, which were free, and I did social media, which was free. And as you know, yes, I had food. Yes, I had cheerleaders, and I had violin players, and but everything
you had the freaking army there.
Oh, wow.
Okay, but the point was, it was community. I asked. So with the food, I didn't have to pay that much because there were people that wanted to be promoted. I let them set up. Right. And the reason it turned into a spectacle, which people said, Dave, you're taking away from your business. No, I'm not. My business is community. My business is to brand you for events. And so, yes, I asked the gem mine people and the race car driver and the army, but I also asked 10 nonprofits and said, okay, people, come and talk to these nonprofits in a different post every day leading up to it. Come and support these nonprofits. Come and support these businesses. I'll have some music. We'll have some food. And yes, I had to give away 100 t-shirts. What could he do? But it looked like I spent tons. But what I did is talk to the Steves of the world and talk to those type people that I've gotten to know on a personal level in those 6 months, because I didn't just go to events to sell. I knew who did what, who knew who, how I could help who, and who was really in need of having, because the other thing we do through FABA, through Fletcher Area Business, is every July, hopefully we can do it again this year, is we host an after hours that's open to everybody, and it's always up against the chamber, and we have double what they have. And the reason being is we take businesses like yours that don't have a space but would love to be seen, don't have money to host a party, and we set up tents, and I say, come to Big Frog because I got space, and meet 10 or 15 of my closest friends, and we've all thrown in $100 and we've gotten enough food for 200 people to show up, and we look marvelous. But we don't look marvelous because we've spent money. And I wouldn't look marvelous if I was just running around trying to sell and nobody liked me. But because of relationships, we were able to make those things happen. So I know, Nancy, you're saying, okay, well, if I don't go, then I'm going to run out of money. I'm not saying don't go. I'm saying go everywhere. Tough part is if you have to do the business. So you can only go so many places. Well, I like to sleep in the morning is your answer. Well, I'd say sorry, but there's all these things Steve will drive from Asheville all the way down to Hendersonville to be at a live thing by 8. He probably didn't want to get up either, but he's a part of the group, Fletcher Area Business, 8 a.m. Some people go, well, I have to be home at. You have to make those decisions. I'm saying go to as many as possible, so be consistent, get there early, stay late. But wherever you decide to go, it better be something where you feel comfortable, that you have something to give, and that you do more than just try to sell. That's the relationship side of it. And everybody's got varying levels of what they can do and what they can't do.
Very, very good. Blaine, you have a question.
Yeah, just a compliment to David, who doesn't really know me at this point in time. But Hank,
I've seen you on the radio.
Okay, seen me on the radio. Hank had brought me to a networking group, and we were just at the meeting. And then at the very end, I won a prize. And it was a T-shirt from you. And I remember that because I remember the name. And even though I haven't needed to order T-shirts for myself or for a client, I remember you, and I really appreciated that. It's just that I hadn't expected to go, and I think you even missed the meeting, but it wasn't the point. It was just that you would sponsor that as a prize, and just kind of a nice thing to get. And so, belated thanks.
It was a gift certificate, which again is, Dave
Right.
likes to be campy and have fun, and right, as a frog, you can hop and be in the pond, and certificates and everything we do can be certified. But yes, if you've got something, take a door prize, and to something. And the door prize, if you have something that I can give away shirts. Hank has something he can give. Steve can give, but if you don't have something, don't just run to the clearance section in Target and buy a pair of, and I say this because somebody did it. They bought a toolkit or jumbo pens and slapped their card on it. There's zero use for that other than selling. They're only doing that so that they can give a door prize. A gift card to somewhere, even a bottle of wine. Then you put your card on it, and there's people going, ooh, me, right? Give something, even if small, and it does show. It's in my case, yes, it was directly coming back to me. The better example is you can pay it forward and buy, somebody that owns a coffee shop, and you can buy a gift card from them and give it away. So yes, they aren't coming to you directly, but you gave the prize. So I've always said that where you can, then you should. You're paying it forward, sideways, and since the pandemic started, I kept saying keep community moving forward, and that's been my tagline on everything, because it really hasn't been about us the last 52 weeks. Anybody trying to sell hard the last 52 weeks, everybody sees right through that more so than anything. But I thank you for saying that.
Okay, Eddie and Margaret, you've got something you want to ask? Eddie and Margaret.
I was trying to unmute the
There you go.
place. So yeah, I was curious, Dave or anybody else, about building community with competitors. Margaret and I were having a conversation today where I noticed, for example, on YouTube, there'll be people who have a particular theme that they do videos on, and they'll often bring on people doing pretty much the exact same thing, and they collaborate and they promote each other. And we do something where there's people doing very similar kinds of things, and just wondering the most effective way to build community among competitors, where you see each other as supporting each other rather than taking sections of the pie away from you.
Steve and I and Hank, at Steve's things, you will see people try to one up their competitor at these meetings. You're right. The human side is the reason we're all here is because there's enough need. And you can get, I mean, in your presentation, you could say, like so-and-so, we also do this. Now you want your difference. I mean, I can do one shirt, whereas screen printers have a 3 or 4 dozen minimum. We have a retail space, they don't. So when a promotional product, a good friend of Steve and mine is a promotional product dealer, and he let me go into the chamber. He could have easily said, I do shirts too. You cannot have a seat in the chamber thing. And instantly in both chambers, Asheville and Hendersonville 5 years ago, he let me come in because 80-something% of his business is promotional products, whereas mine's mostly his small thing. And he and I will play it. I mean, in the things we will say, okay, you've heard him talk about branding, you too can brand. So acknowledge that they are your competitor, but you're also colleagues, right? You can also be clients. You take the high road and it looks unbelievable community. It really does. I mean, you win every time when you can say, I understand I'm one of 4 realtors in this room and we all buy and sell houses. Just get to know us and I mean, you'll find the right road. It's right. I mean, Anna Marie says they all have strengths you don't. Behind the scenes, you're learning from them. Anna Marie's husband knows, and she probably does now, knows all the other printers, that not all of them print what she does. Most of them don't, but they've gotten to learn from them, leverage them. And most of the community doesn't see the niceness that goes on behind the scenes or even some of the bad stuff. But when they do see the bring them on, or you get to reverse somebody because they do something that you don't, although you do 80% similar, that's the high road. It's like when you refer a client, I don't do it, but, and there's a screen printer in Asheville that refers people to us all the time. Hey, you need shirts in 3 days, or you need a couple. We don't do that as a screen printer, but Big Frog does. And they read our reviews and they trusted us to send their clients. Mm-hmm. But yet the client comes to us and we do screen printing too. We could steal their client, but they felt secure enough in their shoes and they looked great by referring the clients. And when the client comes in and says they referred me, I could have easily said, God bless them. Don't go to them. Now you're here. But we just said, they're an awesome organization too. And we play in the same field. But they sent you because we can. So we didn't do it as a negative. It was 100% positive.
Yeah, that is very excellent. I like to portray, or at least get out the notion that it's kind of an old idea that we are a universe of scarcity and that there's only room for, 1 or 2 of you. There's room for everybody. And I think when you look at those people who are your potential competitors as friends and realize that there's room for you to do your business, there's room for them to do their business, you're not directly competing for everybody's dollars, and there's a lot of ways you can help each other, it becomes a win-win situation.
Hank, have you ever actually, or anybody actually reached out to a competitor and just said, hey, by the way, I know this is what you do, and I'm doing something very similar?
Yes.
And,
yeah, I know most of mine. I know most of mine in the area.
I want you to know, and hey, if we could support each other and help each other grow.
There were, when I was opening, I went and said hi to most of them. One guy wanted to fight me. Well, guess what? That's probably not going to work in the long run. But a couple of them said, glad you're here. Oh, I don't do that. Or I've used them as clients. They're definitely colleagues. I've been in the same room as some. What we all got to remember is over the last 12 months, our competitors, which were Asheville, Western North Carolina, Hendersonville, are now everywhere because the selling online, right? And you don't, and some people's businesses, they don't have to be local. Those of us who talk local all the time, right, usually stays local. But our competitors have become this big now just because of the internet, right? And Walmart competes with most people because of what they sell. The internet competes with all people. You can't get a haircut on the internet yet, but so there are some places that are safe. But yeah, embrace them. That's an awesome thing.
The guy who wanted to fight you, did he do that before he met you or after he saw how big you are?
This is before I even opened. I went in and said, I need some things. Brandon, I could call another Big Frog store and have them do a whole bunch of shirts for me, or I know it's going to be my logo I'm wearing that goes against you, but I'd like to be your client. And it's like, he got mad. Like, how dare you come in here as my competitor? But I guarantee they all came in my store the 6 months later, not introducing themselves. Came in and goes, so what do you do? And had somebody, that's called secret shopping. It's happened in the history of business. But yeah, he got mad because I wouldn't introduce myself because I was opening down the road. Now, he may be more mad. He's not out of business yet, but I don't know how mad he's been over the last 5 years. But steer your own course. Be who you are. Again, your unique value proposition. Steve doesn't need to get a haircut online, he said.
There you go. One thing I want to point out, too, is I'm having one of those moments. You just kind of kicked me out of it. But that'll come back to me. Sorry about that. Sometimes I reveal that I was around during the 70s when I have a moment like this one.
You're not alone.
Yeah, it'll come back to me. But, does anybody else have any questions?
I have not a question. I've known Dave since before he opened his store. When he says that he just hit the ground running and joined all these chambers and he went everywhere and did everything, he's not kidding. The guy did more networking than I do and than I did
That's
there.
scary.
It was scary. And he knows. I watched him for 5 years, for a little over 5 years. I consider him my friend. He's everywhere. He still goes everywhere and does everything except my meetings, David. I need to talk.
I know they're at the wrong time. It just stinks. I want to go live. Let's have them a Tuesday, a Wednesday.
But what he's talking from experience, and it works for him. I mean, if you're an outgoing, friendly person, it's going to work for you. If you're not, you probably don't want to have a business where you're meeting the public. And it's, what can I say? It's what I do as well. I wish I did it as well as he does. I'm close.
Well, another example, I mean, Steve's example is most of the time, Steve's presentation, his minute, is used on Steve, not on Incredible Towns. Steve has talked about who Steve is from an acting side, from a voiceover side, from you want to go and sing karaoke on a Friday night, I'll take you to the best joints, right? Yeah. So he's playing the Steve angle, and this was when he did something else. But with Incredible Towns, right, it's like, how many social media people are there? Well, you want somebody who's going to point you and click you in the right direction. And I mean, he can do that. So again, you don't have to be the most extroverted dance on a table. You just have to be community connector and care about where you are. I mean, in the groups that Steve and I run in, there's no circles we run in last year. We run in squares now on Zoom. But I mean, it's still, we can give, remember, your story is known. We can give we know who does what and how long they've been doing it.
Yeah.
And we've just found all of ourselves immersed in it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Go to meetings,
because, if you need information or if you need to bounce something, he will take the time to sit down with you. And you know that he knows the community, and you toss out this phrase, servant leader. You know that he is.
Yeah, and Dave, you had mentioned something earlier. People go to meetings and they say, "What do you do?" I've never liked that. Don't ask somebody what do they do. They are not their job. Long time ago, I started saying mostly make inappropriate comments. That was my answer to what do you do?
You said that yesterday.
Well, yeah, you're very good. You've always been very good at that.
Yeah, and people will stand next to me and they'll nod their head, because they know me. If you're going to ask what people do, ask them what they do for a living. And if you ask me what I do, I'm going to say mostly make inappropriate comments, and I'm going to follow it with, you didn't ask me what I do for a living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very true. I remember what I wanted to bring up. And it's, you go to these networking events and the people that you remember are the ones who sat down with you and sincerely took an interest in what it is that you do, because people, they enjoy talking about what they do. The ones that we remember the least or don't want to remember are the ones that grab your ear, sit you in a corner and try to sell you for 20 minutes at one of these events. And they don't care what you do. They just want to know what kind of dollar sign they can get out of you. So the ones that you remember are the ones that sincerely are interested in finding out about you, learning about you, what your business is, what you like to do. Are you married? Sometimes that can be an odd kind of thing to ask in today's society. However, the ones that take an interest in you as a person are the ones you're going to remember. And that, I think, is a very good part of relationship marketing.
You don't want your clients to be transactional. You don't want to be transactional as a client. So everywhere you go in the community, don't be transactional.
Go make friends. That's what Dave does. He makes friends everywhere he goes.
Yep.
Just that's how you get referrals. People will do business with their friends before they do business with a stranger, but he's a likable guy. It's what he does. He makes friends everywhere he goes.
So
That's relationship marketing.
That is relationship marketing, and that's probably the best lesson we can bring out of this.
Yeah.
Become a friend to the people that you're in contact with. I'd like to say thank you to everybody that's been here, that took the time to come here today, and thanks to David for sharing this information, because it's like gold. And for those of you who stuck with us, and you all did, I appreciate that, because we've run a little bit long today.
It was worth it.
Yeah, thank you. The Home Business Success community has a Zoom meeting every 2 weeks. Most of the time they're for members only, but occasionally when we do something special, I like the notion of bringing it out to the public, and perhaps we'll do that in the future with some additional meetings. Anyway, if nobody has anything else they'd like to share, once again, thank you all for being here.